Chris Lee and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14, presented by Stakes, here to talk about three SEC basketball games played on Wednesday night, all three interesting games. Blake, let's start with the biggest one in Fayetteville, where Arkansas got an SEC win over Missouri in a tale of two halves that were very different. Eric Musselman was not very happy with the Razorbacks' first half performance. You saw him use the bench to motivate. You saw guys like Joseph Pinion getting more minutes. You saw Ricky Council, the fourth, play two distinctly very different halves. And Arkansas guts out a win over a red-hot Missouri team without its best performance for sure.
Yep, nice win for Arkansas. I think Missouri had the formula for success, I thought. They certainly made them shoot jump shots early in the game, and we saw how that was going. And, eventually it was just Arkansas realizing, I think, that they just could not settle for, shooting a lot of shots from the outside. And as long as they could get more shots near the rim and inside the arc, it was going to be more successful. And of course, getting to the free throw line helps with that too. And so I think like I said, you saw that. I mean, you saw, Pinion step up, make some big threes. I thought that was a big part of it because really outside of him, you're not getting a lot of production on the outside, which we said it's already a below average shooting team. We knew that coming in. And so I thought Missouri had a nice game plan. And you couldn't ask for kind of a better start. But I think you always knew that Arkansas was going to make the run. And, they did. And Missouri tried to kind of claw its way back to give itself a chance and, force some turnovers, got some easy buckets as Missouri usually does. But I just think, give credit where it's due with Ricky Council making some big plays, for Arkansas to win a game with Anthony Black playing 40 minutes and only scoring 6 points. I think that's a big thing because it is a matter of other guys stepping up. We knew that was going to be the case. We said rotation wise, maybe they stick with 5, but in a game like this, it's probably not going to happen because you've got to have, with the way Missouri plays, you got to have more than just 5 guys that are going to be able to play because I think it's just kind of an exhausting style. And so other guys step up, and a much needed win for Arkansas because, like we said, given their starting schedule here, one they really needed after losing that game to LSU.
Yeah, if you're Missouri, Dennis Gates, I'm not going to say he was complaining about officiating, but talked about, I don't want to put words in his mouth here, about Arkansas, I guess, sort of winning the game at the foul line. I don't know if that's exactly what he said, but there was a comment about it. You have to correct me with exactly what he said if you know it. But the other thing for Missouri that stood out was Kobe Brown, who's been about as good a player as anybody in the country the last couple of weeks. He gets 2 fouls in the first half, sits some, gets 11 points for the night. I guess if you want to look at it one way, you could say if you're Missouri, hey, we went there, our best player didn't give us what he's been giving us lately, and we still almost won.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone watched that game and came out of it thinking that Missouri is somehow overrated,
No.
I would suggest you go back and rewatch the game because I don't think that's the case at all. I think that I told you. I mean, if this game had been played in Columbia, Missouri wins. And that's not saying anything about the free throw shooting because let's call it what it is too. I mean, I know I think
Missouri missed some shots it would usually hit from the line. Maybe that's a better way to put it.
Well, and I don't know what the quote was, but I mean, Arkansas shot 23, Missouri shot 21, so it's not like there's a discrepancy there. It's pretty even in terms of overall attempts from the line, but maybe it's just in the context of late in the game and that kind of thing. Which again, I haven't seen the quote, so I don't know exactly what it is. But again, my opinion on Missouri doesn't change at all. They were right there with a chance to win. I mean, that's a 1-2 possession game with a couple minutes to go, and I think that's all you can ask for. I mean, they never trailed by more than 8. Yes, I know they were up 17 the first half, but like I said, I think you always knew Arkansas was going to make a run. It's just a tough place to play, and so Kobe Brown only played 20 minutes, had 11 points, and like I said, fouls obviously factor into that. But you're talking about a guy who, during this stretch, has played 35 plus minutes when they've had their most success. So adds more minutes to there, and he probably gives you a little more production, and it's a different game. But it wasn't, and Missouri's still deep. They still got a lot of guys can play, as we saw last night. And, that's just a tough SEC road game that a lot of teams not named Missouri aren't going to win. It's a tough place to play. We always say that, and so I don't. Is it disappointing? I think it's disappointing for Missouri, and that speaks to where they've come to in one season now. I think it's disappointing that they lose that game after having a big lead early because you know you just kind of feel like where they are right now is sitting in a pretty good spot. But to me, my opinion coming out of this is Missouri's still probably the fourth best team in the SEC, and
Yeah, I agree.
Arkansas's the number three, and these are two teams that are pretty close together. And I think you kind of saw that last night with kind of a game of runs from both. So,
Okay, I found one of the quotes, and this is from Dennis Gates. We're a better free throw shooting team than what we displayed. Whenever you have Demoy Hodge get on the line and miss 2 free throws in the first half, that's unacceptable. Whenever you have Nick Honor go 4 for 5, whenever you have Noah Carter go 3 for 5, and then you have Kobe Brown go 5 for 6, I would live and die with those guys at the free throw line. And if it was at the end of the game, I would guarantee those guys shoot 100%. We had the right guys on the free throw line. We didn't execute free throws. We're not a 66% free throw shooting team, and we got to go back to the drawing board and see what we can do better than that area. So that's exactly what he said. Like I said, I think there was another quote there, but that was part of it.
yeah, I mean, they're a 75% free throw shooting team. I mean, so, you add a couple more to the mix and it changes things. But still, I mean, I think the difference just was just Arkansas stepping up and figuring out what worked after realizing midway through the first half what they were doing was not going to work. And I think they changed course and understood that just taking a lot of jump shots was probably not going to be the path to victory necessarily. They were going to have to try to attack, try to get to the free throw line. That's something else we've always talked about with Arkansas. The way they play, getting to the free throw line is important. And, because they're just not a team that's going to get a lot from beyond the arc. And so it was very important. And I think, that just kind of to me was kind of something flipped and they understood how they needed to win this game because it was not going to work the way they were going early. And give Arkansas a lot of credit for that. But like I said, I think both teams are really good. And in an SEC where the top half is beyond some of these top teams, it's kind of a mystery at this point. I think these two teams are clearly in the top four. So,
well, a little more mystery after the Georgia Auburn outcome. I'll get to that in just a minute. First of all, predict sports better than the crowd for a chance to win NFTs. With stakes, players can submit their sports predictions against friends, other fans, and influencers forever. Don't let your sports genius go overlooked. Join stakes and have the best predictions captured in the moment. Head to playwithstakes.com/14. User invite code Southeastern14 for a double welcome bonus. Blake, you called it. I said I thought that the 4.5-point spread that the computers had for Auburn and Georgia, and I don't know what the final line was. That seemed, I don't know, a little low to me. I thought Auburn would do better. You said, I don't know, not so fast, and you were right. Terry Roberts had a tremendous game last night. I thought just took that game over. And as my friend Jay Tate wrote at Auburn Sports, Auburn just doesn't have a go-to guy. Its guards weren't great on either end of the floor last night. Janai Broome was far and away Auburn's best player last night, scoring 22 points. But I was really impressed what Georgia was able to do. Ime Moncrief, who's been hurt, stepped up and gave them 9 and 9. You had to be a whole lot more excited about Georgia basketball after last night than you probably were coming into this year.
well, yeah, I mean, there was nowhere to go but
that
up.
would be hard not to be,
I was gonna
but
say
you know
that,
what I mean.
I know there's nowhere to go but up. But yes, they're 11-3 right now. And again, I mean, even I think, as someone who said, I think this is the perfect fit, Mike White at Georgia, for everybody who knocked Mike White at Florida, this is a different situation. And I think he's where he needs to be. It's the right job, meaning it doesn't come with the pressure of a Florida job after Billy Donovan. I think context is important. Not to say the Georgia job doesn't come with pressure, but it's not the same of a Florida, and that can wear on someone over the years. He's still a good coach, and he's proven that with this team because let's be honest here. Yes, they've added a couple new pieces, right? But there's a lot of pieces on this roster that were there last season.
Mm-hmm.
And
Two
some of
big
this,
ones.
yeah. And so I think when you look at it from that standpoint, he's getting a lot out of guys, you know, and I'm not saying, yes, we know that there are new guys to the mix, and you can kind of look at it from that standpoint. Obviously, adding some of the more high level, like you said, a Terry Roberts, that really helps. Um, McBride, I mean, those kind of guys, and Moncrief, I mean, that's helpful. But still, you're building around, an Aquendo, a Bridges, like you're building around these kind of guys that are still there. And so I think, being able to kind of have that understanding what you need to get out of those guys, and then having these new guys to add to the mix. Um, yeah, I mean, he's getting the most out of his group, and that just did not happen with the previous regime. And so, you look at it from that standpoint, I think Mike White is just doing a tremendous job. And I'd even go as far to say right now, I mean, look, and we're a long way away from deciding this, but he's in the coach of the year conversation at this moment and I know they're only 11-3, but if you really think about where Georgia was as a program
Uh-huh.
after March, whatever, their last loss last season, it's remarkable for them to be where they are. Now they got a long way to go, and I still think they're a team that's probably going to struggle to find some wins away from home, but winning like this to start SEC play is big, and I think that's very important to kind of look at where they've come to this point, and again, give Mike White credit, but also give the players credit for really buying into what he wants to do and how they need to play to win, because they have limitations, but they play within what they do best. Now, what a great segue, right? Because that takes us to Auburn. And I don't remember if
Yeah.
I said this in our preview video or if I said this on a radio, one of the few radio things I did this week, but I said it to somebody. I said, and I remember this conversation, it's kind of interesting how the numbers played out. I said, here's the deal. Auburn can win shooting 14 threes. Like that's exactly what they need to do. They need to shoot 14 threes a game, because that's what they shot against Florida, right? They went 3 of 14, 3 of 14, 21%. Okay. But I said 14 that's a good number. Like you're going to make more than 3 probably if you're shooting 14 at some point. But what did they do last night?
They
They
shot
double that
twice
number.
that.
They shoot 28. And that to me tells me a couple things. One, they're not going to beat above average competition shooting 28 threes. Now, the most threes they shot up to this point until last night, they shot 27 against Texas Southern. They went 7 of 27 earlier this season. Look at the 25 sample sizes. 4 of 25 against George Mason, 5 of 25 against South Florida. 16%, 20% respectively. Memphis, 6 of 24, 25%. The numbers don't lie here. Like
Their ceiling, I don't think is what we thought it was at the start of the season. And I don't want to make an absolute pronouncement, because again, I feel like we start to kind of know what teams are around mid-February for sure. You see teams take dramatic turns, but it's the same issues with guards, and I just don't think their guards have the upside that Bruce Pearl's past teams have had. And I don't know what you do about that. Look, these kids can play better, right? That's not what I'm saying. They can all play better. And Auburn is going to win some games when its guards play better this year. But it's been a broken record of late.
Yeah, I mean, we came into the season saying, I don't know that this is going to be a great shooting team. And here's the formula I've seen, and I feel like we're seeing now. If they get behind in a game and they have to find a way to rally, right? Let's say they get down double digits, which they did last night. You're going to say, all right, let's get some threes, because threes are worth more than twos. It's not a good formula, because if you're trying to rally and you're going against what you do best, which 3-point shooting is not what they do best, it's hard to make up ground. And that's why I think this is a team, I've said this as well, they're going to have to, like it or not, you may not love the way the style, they're going to have to win more 61-58 type games like they did against Florida. Yep. I don't think Auburn's winning games necessarily that get above the 70s against good teams. And I'm not saying that to knock Auburn. I just think that's how they have to play. I said this, and I don't remember, all my conversations kind of go together here, but take their best wins, from the computer standpoint to this point, right? Northwestern 43-42. Now that's an extreme, but that's something. St. Louis 65-60.
Yeah.
You know, Florida 61-58. Those are the kind of games Auburn. That's the kind of way they have to win this season. Like they're not going to against good teams. Now, yes, you can point out, say, oh, they beat this team 89 to something or whatever. But against SEC competition, they have to win games that are probably in the 60s because I just think they have to use their defense to make things easier on their offense. Because right now, I look at them offensively and I just don't. You said it from the start. I don't really see that standout. And I'm not saying all the guys can't do it. I mean, like I said, Broom, 22 points, 12 rebounds, in 29 minutes. Great performance from him. They have guys who can do it, but consistently, the guard group, I just don't think scoring wise can give them what they need from the shooting standpoint, from all those different things. Now they didn't turn the ball over as much last night, so that was better. But that to me is what Auburn has to realize is, especially if they get down in games, like they're going to lean on their defense this season to be successful. And I just think they have to win a lot of games that are played in the 60s because if their defense isn't on and they're playing catch up, that's a bad recipe, I think, for this particular team, just with the way they're playing right now.
Blake, before we wrap it up, are we forgetting something on Wednesday night?
Well, we are not forgetting our jerseys the way that Texas A&M did.
That was hilarious. How
But
do you do that?
well, the Bobby Petrino effect already in play apparently somehow. So
What do you do if you don't pack your jerseys? Do you play like in t-shirts or how does that work?
I just wonder. I haven't looked at the rule. I assume they put it on ESPN, but is that just a one technical, or is that just a delay a game technical? How does that work? I assume that's it, right? Like
It was a technical foul. I don't know if it was. I'll have to look this up.
it has to be just a delay technical. Like you can't, because here's the thing. Like you can't say, all right, we're getting ready to start the game. Well, none of these starters, all five guys, they don't have their jersey, so we're going to tee every one of them up. It can't do that. I think it's just a delay of game for the start of the game. I assume there's something in the rule book about that. So
I'm looking at play by play.
because Florida made the free throw and it was 1-0, and
Yeah, I guess it was one. So
yeah, I'm just curious what the rule reads, but I'll find it somewhere. We don't have to worry about that. We'll quickly go through this game because
Blake,
I mean,
let me get you before you do a quick word from BROTHROW. Betting 11 to win 10 stinks. BROTHROW lets you bet 10 to win 10. It lets you bet on all 50 states. It's not the house, so bettors have a fair chance at winning. It's the only sports betting platform that doesn't take a cut of every bet. No need to deposit money. No minimum bets. No need to connect your bank account. Bettors pay each other directly. It's a hassle-free sign-up process that lets you get in the action in seconds. Go to brothrow.com/SE14. When you get there, ask to join our private group. We'll let you in. We'll have some fun with that. Anyway, back to Florida and Kentucky and A&M.
yeah, yeah. So it was apparently it was just a delay of game foul. So that's the technicality there. But A&M may have forgot their jerseys, but they figured out how to, you know, win a game like this that they really needed. And we said coming in, this was basically a toss-up game. Good luck if you're trying to figure out how this game. I think we picked Florida. I honestly don't remember.
We
I think
picked
we said that
Florida because Florida was at home,
was
for
the home
lack of a
team.
better idea.
Yeah, there you go. We said they were the home team, so we picked them. I don't know. I mean, disappointing for Florida. I will say that off the bat. I said it, Chris. It's like I'm not trying to, you know, keep saying this, but it's like every average, above average team Florida's played, they've lost, and
Yep.
it's just I mean, it's just that kind of season, right? So, and I think it's a little disappointing because you do have Colin Castleton,
But they're not getting the Castleton they were getting last year and at the beginning of this year. And he got a technical last night on top of it.
well, but still, if he's not on the floor, it's still a completely different game.
Sure.
And so I think yes, statistically, but I think a lot of things go into that. It's different approach maybe to how they play and all those things. So yeah, I don't know. It's a disappointing loss for Florida because I think right now they're just kind of sitting in a spot where they just don't really. Like I said, they're not even close to the tournament at this point. So that's a disappointing loss. But for A&M, like I said, a game they had to win. Radford, Marble, Taylor all go for 17, and that's about it. I mean, but hey, credit those three guys for stepping up and making big plays for a team that went 2 of 16 from three. Like we said, man, this league offensively, it's a struggle sometimes for some of these teams. And we've always kind of pointed out the trend of shooting, not a great shooting league, and
No.
so I think it's just teams that have to get to the free throw line. That's why we always talk about the free throw numbers in the SEC. It is a more aggressive downhill type of play in this league where you just have a lot of great athleticism and length, guys who can get to the rim. Um, so yeah, I mean that's what A&M needed to do here and got to the free throw line 28 times in this game. Of course, Florida turned it over 20 times. That was another thing. That's kind of what we're used to though with A&M defensively is finding a way to do that. They haven't done it. I mean, they've done it against, like we said. I mean, they've had a pretty good turnover rate this season, but you still feel like defense has been lacking a little bit with the Aggies. But credit them for getting a road win to start SEC play, and yeah, I mean they've got an interesting schedule coming up because they get LSU, Missouri at home, go to South Carolina, get Florida again. So the Aggies actually have a chance to get off to a decent start here if they can just kind of build off of some of this momentum and really build off of this win here at Florida.
Picks coming up for this weekend. Best way to get those, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. That helps us too. Thanks for watching Southeastern 14 presented by Stakes. We'll see you again soon.